Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, Stephen, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good, good. Welcome, everybody. This is BlackBusinessList.com, and you are here with Mr. Ronald Garnett, and we're talking about how to get your business funded, how to get funding for your business. We're doing this for the first time, guys, with this brand new fancy system we got set up here, and we're trying to do a really good show. I want to make sure if you're watching right now, I see there are a few of you watching. We want to verify that you can hear us and everything is fine with the audio, because we are live and we do want to make sure that everything is good. Somebody else said hello. All right, hello. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully, everything is good. You can hear us and give us a thumbs up and let us know that everything is all right with the audio. And we're going to proceed to talk about how to get business funding. And we've got Mr. Ronald Garnett with us. He is a gentleman that's been working in this space for quite a while. He's got a lot of experience. He runs a business called Garnett and Associates. Okay, we got a yes back. Thank you so much for letting us know that you can hear us and everything is good. All right, I can rest a little easier now. I was really nervous about that, but okay. That's awesome. And somebody else, Miss Sheila Joyner, said hello. Yes, we can hear. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so now we're going to get into it, folks. It's very difficult. And this just isn't my opinion. It's very difficult for African Americans to get access to capital when we're starting a business, when we're trying to grow our business, when we're just trying to survive. I think a lot of us found that out with the PPP loans. There was some little blips there where some people weren't actually getting access to the certain aspects of the funding that was coming down federally. And so we also see that when we try to get loans from banks, and this isn't just my opinion, there are stats that back that statement up, that it's a little harder for African Americans to get funding. And so we need to be creative and we need to be resourceful when it comes to financing our dreams, because that's what owning a business is. You know, you're a CEO, you have a vision, and you have a dream of what you want your company to be. And it's very hard to run a business without access to capital, without money. So, Mr. Garnett, Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and what services you provide.
Well, my company is called Garner and Associates, and we've been around for over 10 years. And primarily, we work with businesses, entrepreneurs, or business owners who cannot qualify for funding through a bank. What we do is we help them get funding in the alternative finance market, which is a market where people can go to get funds, that is funds other than a bank market, for example. Now, the difference between bank funding or traditional funding and alternative funding is that bank funding has money that is FDIC insured. Therefore, you have regulations concerning the funding and qualifications and collateral requirements. And these requirements kind of tightened up after the Great Recession of 2008, so that funding kind of became more difficult for all people involved, and especially African Americans. As we said before, that when white America catches a cold, we get pneumonia, as far as I'm concerned. And
right.
What we do in my firm is we try and look at the best funding option for each one of our clients in the alternative finance market.
Okay, so you try to get the best. I'm glad you said that, because I think that when people think about alternative financing, a lot of times they're thinking, okay, well, if this person is willing to work with me, that means I'm going to have this outrageous interest rate. But what you do, from what our previous conversations that we've had, is that you really try to work with them to get them the best possible interest rate. Isn't that correct?
Interest rate and funding option.
Okay.
When most people, especially African American people, look at alternative financing, they're looking at something like a payday loan or something that has a extremely high interest rate, or something such as a merchant cash advance. And those interest rates are astronomical, such as with a merchant cash advance loan, you might end up paying interest rates of 50 to 200% for like 60 days. And what I do is I look for the best alternative for each client at the lowest interest rate, but the best funding option, because there are over a dozen different funding options in the alternative finance market. And you have to look at the one that best fits your business model. It's not, I don't put a square peg in a round hole. I look for the best alternative for each client, so that when the client says, this is my funding need, I'll look for the best funding option for that client.
Okay. The best option for them.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm glad again that you said that, because I want people to really understand that you're actually working for them. You're a broker, and it's your job to make sure that they get funded. But you also look out for them to make sure that they get the best possible deal in the transaction. So, again, folks, we're talking about finally getting access to capital, money, the thing that's going to fuel your dream, fuel your ideas, fuel your growth. It's very difficult. I've done it for many years. I know how difficult it is to try to operate your business with very little capital. Okay. So we have folks out there that are actually willing to give you the capital as long as you qualify. So tell us a little bit about some of the qualifications and how it might be easier for people to actually get these loans than what they realize.
Okay, well, let's deal with one type of loan that most people like to apply for, which is something that banks used to offer, which they really have shied away from now, is an unsecured signature loan that is based primarily on your income and your credit score and your debt to credit ratio. Generally, a bank will not give you a signature loan, no matter what. I have funders and programs that fit into two categories. One is the program of 620 on up. So you have a credit score of 620 on up, make at least, say, $30,000 on up, and have a decent debt to credit ratio, less than 50%. Depending on what your income is, you can qualify for signature loans ranging from $20,000 to $400,000, depending on your income. Now, if you're making $30,000, you're not going to qualify for a $400,000 loan. But if you're making $30,000, you might get a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 loan, maybe $100,000 loan, depending on the strength of your financials. Basically, if you took like a 650 or 660 credit score and a $35,000, $40,000 income into a bank, you would get nothing, basically. And if you had collateral and did business with the bank, you might get $5,000 or $10,000, maybe 20. So in the alternative finance market, you will, one, get the loan, and you will get much more money. That's the upside. The downside is you are a greater risk, because what happens is that the funder puts the money in your bank account,
Yeah.
and there's no collateral. So whatever happens to the money, they have faith in you that you're going to pay the money back and pay the success fee or the origination fees.
Guys,
after the money is paid to you.
Yeah. So that's a risk. I do want to for them, right?
For the funder.
Exactly. I do want to remind everybody that we are live. So if you have any questions, you can definitely go ahead and if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can go ahead and type in a comment and we'll try to get your question answered right now. You don't have to wait. As a matter of fact, you can also go ahead and apply right now. There's a link that we've set up for you to go ahead and apply. If you need funding and you need it like yesterday, you can go ahead and go to www.bblcash2fund.net. That's www.bbl.cash2fund.net. Go ahead and apply, and you can get preliminary information in terms of if you qualify or not. So very quickly, within a few minutes, to let you know if you pre-qualify for these amazing funding solutions. And so we've set that up so that you can get access to capital now. You don't have to wait. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to bring up the top 3 reasons why people do not get funded when they go to the bank for a loan. And so we put up the top 3 reasons that people don't get funded. Number 1, lack of consistent cash flow. Number 2, insufficient collateral. And number 3, debt to income ratio. Those are the 3 big reasons, 3 of the big reasons why people don't get funded. And I want Mr. Garnett to come on and really talk about each one of these and how his solution can actually help you overcome a lot of those drawbacks that we talked about.
Okay, well, first, lack of consistent cash flow. In the alternative finance market, the cash flow requirements are different, because with a bank, to do a business loan, you generally have to have a cash flow of around $200,000 for 2 consecutive years, somewhere in that range. That's not really a requirement under the link you gave. The cash flow has to be for maybe 1 year, and you're talking maybe 30,000 on up for that year. It could be a W-2, it could be a 1099, it could be your income tax, where you show an adjusted gross income of 30,000 or more. Now, number 2, the collateral. It's uncollateralized loan, so number 2 doesn't apply at all. So now the debt to income ratio does apply. Ours is a lot more lenient than a bank or traditional funding source. We generally like to have the debt to income ratio below 50%, 30 to 40, 50%. You can still be looked at and qualify. Something that high with a bank, 50% of that ratio, you would not qualify at all. So you will at least get your foot in the door. You can at least get into a situation where you can see, I can qualify with this much money. I don't have to come up with $50,000 worth of collateral to borrow $50,000. The common complaint people have is that I want to borrow $50,000, $100,000, but I need to have $50,000 to $100,000 in collateral to get this money. So if I had it, why would I come to you? Yes. So that's a problem. Now, I will say, as I was saying before, that because the risk is greater, the interest rate is going to be greater for the loans. Now, I've had people who have come to me and say, well, I want the money, but I want the same interest rate that a bank will provide. And I say, I can't do that. If a bank rate is 5, 6, 7%, our interest rates are going to be higher, maybe 8, 9, 10, 11%, somewhere in that range. It might be 2 or 3 points higher. It won't be 50%, 100%, or 200% as some of these predatory loans out there that a lot of Black people fall into are out there. So those are the kind of interest we're talking about. In fact, the highest I've ever seen somebody with one of these alternative loans was 18%, but that person was highly, highly leveraged. Highly leveraged. I mean, they were at a debt to credit income ratio, I think they were like 70, 80% with debt to income ratio, but it still got qualified for something, but the interest rate was 18%.
But, if you're getting the money for business purposes, somebody else talked about this before. You have to look at debt in a whole different way. Like there's good debt and there's bad debt. If you go into debt and because you want to get like the latest car or, the latest fashions, or, some fancy vacation, that's a little different than if you go into debt to fund your business that's going to make money for you. So your debt is actually in a way an asset because it's affording you the opportunity to make money with that debt, right?
Correct. What I always tell people is this money is a tool to make other money. And you look at it in the sense of, I can get this money. How can I turn this money, this 50,000 into 200,000 or 100,000 and whatever? And also I will mention that on these loans, especially the one to the length that you just, gave the listeners, there is no prepayment penalty.
Wow.
So if you borrow $50,000, you invest it, you get $50,000, you can pay it off and apply for 100.
Yeah.
So
because you develop a relationship with the lender. Yeah.
There is no prepayment penalty. You could pay it off early without any effect on you, negative effect. You are able to do that. It's important to remember all loans are not like that. On some of these cash advance loans, you can't pay them off early. You got to ride the whole thing out at a 200%, and you got to pay it off. So this is a method of getting you the money that's not going to bankrupt you or bankrupt your business, and you're able to get into business. Now, the money is more expensive than a bank loan, but if you can't get a bank loan, it's not more expensive because that's not a alternative for you.
An option, right? Another great segue there. Of course, I pulled up a couple of articles that I wanted to share with the audience. Oh, we had a question also. I didn't want to ignore the question. Somebody says here, and I don't know how to pronounce their name, but they're on YouTube, and they said, if you fall in the category of a low credit score with little to no collateral, is there a way to have that loan forgiven? So,
no, you can't get the loan forgiven. Now, what I will say is that on that link that you have provided, there is a special funding program for people who have a credit score of 619 and below. That range is 550 to 619. Now, you must be employed and can show income of around $30,000 and a debt credit ratio of less 50%, but you can qualify for funding for maybe $5,000 to $50,000. And I will say right now, there is almost no place you can go with a credit score of 600, 580, 570 and get a $40,000 loan at an interest rate that, is not predatory.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, so no, loans are not forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do have a lower credit score with this program called the 580 program that is available under under the link that was provided, you can get funded. Now, if you go into the link, they will ask you what your credit score is. If it's 520 or above, you direct it toward one program. I'm sorry, 620 or above, you direct it to one program. If it's 619 and below, you direct it toward another funding program. So there are two alternatives in that link. One for people with credit scores of 620 and above, one for people of credit scores of 619 and below. So the funding is available for both programs. Now, I will tell you that this program for the people who have credit scores of 619 and below is a relatively new program. I don't know if anybody out there who has one like this. I think it's been in effect for like maybe 3 months or less, and it's have really good response, to that. People who could not get into any kind of program, SBA program for low income people, had requirements greater than that. So it's a relatively new program, and I don't know if there's anything out there like that compares.
That compares to it.
Yeah, I don't know everything, but I don't know of one like that. So now, one thing I'm going to say, and I don't want to step on any toes, okay? African American business people must learn there is no free lunch, okay? There is no free lunch. That means if you get a loan, you got to pay it back, and pay it back on time. Even if it's a $5,000, $10,000 loan, you take it and pay it back. You can go in to that same funder and say, look at my track record. I want to get $75,000. And I'll listen to you and talk to you because you have demonstrated that you can handle this type of loan and that you are, not as great a risk. Now, a lot of times people will call me and say, well, I want a grant. That means I just don't have to pay the money back. Well, many people going out of business have never gone into business waiting for a grant. Waiting for a grant.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot. You're in Atlanta. I mean, if you're a black person trying to get a grant to start a business, you might as well go up to the line and pay them for gold. What is that? I mean,
yeah.
It's just that rare. I mean, I do know sources for grants, but the people who are talking about all this money for African Americans getting grant money to start businesses, they are basically conservative white Republicans who are talking about that. You don't see black people coming and say, "Oh, I got all this money for a grant." Just think about it. How many people have you met, African Americans, who said, somebody walked up to me and gave me $50,000 to start a business? Do you know anybody like that? You ever heard of anybody like that?
Yeah, it's one of those things you hear a lot. People like, oh, they have money for minorities. They have, and there may be some companies that have programs, but the thing is that they're very competitive. There aren't usually that many people that are awarded those, and it's not necessary because what you need is a consistent, reliable access to capital. That's really what you need as a business owner, not a one-off, et cetera, et cetera. But you need to know that there is a place you can go to get money when you need it, to get that cash that you need to fund your business efforts. And so that's what we're talking about here today, not some magical, person that's just throwing away money, but access to someone who's actually going to give you the money you need to operate. And that's what we're talking about today. And we're so happy to have you here. I wanted to bring up a couple of articles that I found that I wanted to share with the audience, just to kind of get everybody to on the same page and understand why this is so important. Okay. So let me get the right page up. Got to do that. Oh goodness. The first one, yeah, this is a good one right here. I'm going to show. And what this one here shows that Black millennials lag other groups in building wealth. And so this is an article that I think really kind of illustrates what we're talking about, why it's so important that we have people like you that can give us access to, I think it's over 200 lenders, right? Over 200 private lenders.
Yeah, we have like over 220 lenders who will fund our loans, and each lender has their own different requirements and credentials, and qualifications, but you have an opportunity to get the money.
Yes.
At an interest rate that is not predatory. That is what I really want to emphasize, is that no is not going to be as low as a bank interest rate, but the bank told you no.
Yes.
The bank said no, get out of here. We're not giving you it.
So that's a good segue to the screen right here. In this this article, this source that I found, that Black business owners receive less business financing less often and at higher rates. So when we do actually get the funding from the banks, usually it is at these higher rates. And so that's why we have to make sure that we develop our own independent access to lending sources, and then we can then leverage our cash position to get better deals from banks if we do want to go to banks later on, or when we improve our credit with our private lender, that would actually help us get credit from a bank if you so desire to go to a bank. Another statistic is that 37.9% of Black business owners say they are discouraged from even applying. They don't even want to apply because they just discouraged.
Yeah, I understand. Is that I think you really know, if you're going to a bank and dealing with a bank, if they are really out to try and get you the money. They really want to be helpful to you. And what I will tell people is that as a broker and person who does funding, I am not in competition with a bank. The money is put into your bank account. For us to give you the funding, we have to have some place to put the money, which is a bank account.
Yes.
So we're not in competition with a bank. But I will tell you that if you go through us and we fund you, you have a better relationship with that bank automatically. Now, I tell my clients, learn who your banker is. Don't talk to a teller. So one of the people who in the office who sits down, who just looks at you when you come in and put your money into the bank, learn who they are. Talk to them. Now, if you say get a loan from one of my sources, say it's $50,000, $100,000, whatever, and you are running $100,000 through a bank on a consistent basis, and you go down and talk to your banker, and you said, I want this, I want a line of credit, I want a loan, I want blah, 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 you can say, look at what I'm doing for you.
Yes.
I'm running X amount of dollars a month through your bank. You owe me something. else I'll take my money and take it somewhere else. Who's going to listen to me?
Right.
So you have a greater leverage and a greater credibility because you're saying, I have bargaining chips. I have something to talk to you about. I have money.
Right.
That's talking money. And I have been in meetings with bankers, and they have told me that if a client comes in who doesn't qualify, but they can show they're running money through the bank, they are telling me how their business is growing and whatever. When they do apply for funding, they can go to a funding committee and fight for that person to get money and more money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just walk in and say, hey, I'm putting money in the bank every month and not really running money through the bank on a business level, you don't have credibility. You must get to a situation where that person who has a desk at the bank knows your name and knows who you are. Not the teller, but the person who can go to a funding committee who can be your personal banker. So I'm not trying to take the place of a bank. We can try and get you the money to give you leverage to deal with a banker later on. So maybe in 5 years you don't need alternative financing, but you need it now.
Yes. Absolutely. I want to take a break real quick and remind everybody, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button. We want to share this information as much as possible because I know that you know people, either yourself, maybe it's yourself, and you need another source for capital, for money to run your business or to start a business. Maybe you've got a family member who said, hey, if I had money, I would start a food truck, or if I had money, I would, start whatever kind of business, and they just don't have access to capital and they don't feel like they can get it because, for whatever reason, their credit or, some of those other reasons we talked about. This is the source for you to go ahead and get started getting that money. Even if you can't qualify right now, pretty soon you will be able to because of the programs that they have. So the first step is just to go ahead and apply and go ahead and get you pre-qualified. So I want you to go ahead and go to that link that we have here and fill out the application, because that is the first step. Let's go ahead and get that first hurdle out of the way. You saw the statistic that for Black folks, a lot of times we don't even, now let's talk about that. People don't want to even apply because they feel like they're not going to get it. Now, is this going to, if they go to this link here today, is that a hit on their credit or anything like that? Talk about that a little bit.
No, we don't do hard credit pulls. All of our pulls are soft credit pulls. Now, we don't have any application fees or anything such as that. Now, the only fee you may have, well, you will have, for example, is that you do have to set up an account with a credit monitoring service. And that might be like a $1 fee to, introductory fee. Or in some cases, the most will be like maybe $29 for a month of it. Now, the reason we do that is that if you set up your credit monitoring program or service, we can go into that service, look at your credit, and it will not be a hard pull. It'll be a soft pull. It'll be just like you checking your own credit. So your credit can be checked by our funding sources and not be a hard pull on your credit application. Now, I will say this. I have had situations where clients of mine have gone to 5 or 6 different banks and have got turned down by 5 or 6 different banks. Now, the banks knew they weren't qualified when they walked in the door. They still took the application, ran the credit, had an inquiry, and by the time they had come around to seeing me, they had like 5 or 6 inquiries on their credit, and their credit dropped 100 points.
Yes.
So at that point, they were close to being unfundable because they had 100% drop in their credit in a month in all these inquiries. You got to be credit ready. You can't be applying for 4 or 5 loans at the same time, have those inquiries on your credit, and then apply for funding. Normally, funders don't want to see more than 2 inquiries in a year.
We've got a question that came through. Sure. So of course, when we apply for the funding, it's better for us to go ahead and get that set up so that we can send the credit report, so there's not a hard pull on our credit. So somebody just asked, what if we have Credit Karma? That's the question that came through.
I'm not trying to get myself in any trouble.
Okay.
But my funders do not take Credit Karma because they say it's not as accurate as they want it to be. They will give you a credit reporting service, maybe 1 or 2 that they will take.
Mm-hmm.
And because they can rely on their results. Now remember, you have to get all 3 credit reports, credit scores, and credit history. Mm-hmm. That's what they want. They want to see your credit background. They want all 3 credit FICO scores and a credit history on each one. And they will give you one that is understandable. I ran into a situation not too long ago where somebody went to a credit reporting bureau and they sent the credit information in, and it was unreadable. I mean, nobody could figure out what it was. So they had to go to another one where people could actually look at what the credit was, because they look at the credit score and the credit history, so derogatories and things such as that. And the reason that's so important, say you go to this link and you get a report back saying you can qualify for this money if you take care of X, Y, and Z. Once you do that, then you'll be eligible for funding. That's why it's so important, because some people have things on their credit they didn't even know were there. Sometimes they can pay off a loan that or a debt that they didn't know was there. It happens a lot with people with medical bills. Sometimes you will have you'll go have a procedure, go into emergency room, see a doctor, and insurance will not pay something. You don't get the bill, and you find out you owe like $200 to some unknown company who gave you some aspirin, and that's on your credit report, and that stops you from getting funded. So you need to go in and hunt that down and take care of it, or dispute it or whatever. Most times you got to pay it, and then you'll be eligible for funding.
Got it. So we've taken care of all 3 of these top reasons why the banks don't do business loans as often, especially to minorities, African Americans. So I'm excited about the program. I think we're going to be able to help a lot of people. People that are watching this program, and people that are going to watch this program, and people that are going to find out about the program because somebody's going to tell them about the program. So I'm excited because I don't think people realize that how easy it can be to get the funding, because when we've tried at the bank and we've got denied, it's something about that rejection or something about that experience to where a lot of people just don't try anymore, and they don't realize that it could be something as simple as addressing like a couple of issues on your credit report, or in this case, finding private lenders who have different criteria, and that you may have got turned down at the bank, but that doesn't mean that you can't get the money. So go ahead and apply. There's nothing like knowing, right? If you hit that link and apply and find out that you can get tell them again what the range of money that's available through these programs.
Okay.
They need to hear it again.
If you have a credit score of 620 and above, your credit score affects it, your income affects it, but you can get between $20,000 to $400,000 unsecured capital.
$400,000. That's almost $500,000.
Yeah, up to $400,000. If your credit score is 619 and below, and you are employed, you can get between maybe $5,000 to $50,000 of unsecured credit.
Yes.
So, now I will say that everybody has their own criteria. We got different standards. The standards are lower, but there are standards, but you will be told what your issues are and how you can alleviate the obstacles to getting you the credit. I'm going to get my soapbox now.
Oh.
Now, as African Americans, we have been told that the only way to get money is go to a bank. And if the bank says no, then that's just it. What I'm saying is that when the bank tells you no, that should be the start of your funding process rather than the end. Okay?
Yes.
Now, as African Americans, we don't know about alternative finance. I just ran across it because I was teaching a class where my students got turned down for bank loans. They're supposed to get a government loan, went to a bank, they got turned down, and they said, where do we go? We started doing research. I started doing research and ran across alternative finance. Now, I'm a SCORE mentor, and I had a partner at one time who was working for a Fortune 500 company, Ingersoll Rand. They always use alternative financing. He was very familiar with it. That's a Fortune 500 company, billion-dollar company. They use alternative finance every single day.
Mm-hmm.
He knew all about it.
Yes.
Much as I did, because he said I used it. He was an engineer, but I knew how the financing worked. And of course we use alternative finance all the time. I mean, we didn't have, because it was quicker, to have to go through banks, so forth and so on. So these are funding sources that have been around for hundreds and thousands of years. We just didn't know about them.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't use them because you went to the bank and the bank would say, no, we won't give you money for start a business. Want to go on vacation? Want to buy a car? We give you money for that. Start a business? No. So what I'm saying now is that you have a chance. You have a chance right now to get the money you need to start your business or expand your business. We can help you. We're not going to take advantage of you. I mean, I have had situations where no one's going to make you take money. No one's going to force it on you. I had a client one time who had a used car lot. He needed some money for inventory or whatever. He qualified for $150,000. He said, well, no, I don't need 50. So he took 50, left 100 on the table. I wouldn't have done it, but he left 100 on the table and said, I will take this 50 at this interest rate to pay it back because that's what I need for my business. So you're in control of this process. We're going to come to you with an offer for the money. You can say, well, no, I don't want it. And the only thing you may have been out was maybe at the most $30 to start a you know
Credit
a
monitoring.
a program to monitor your credit. That's the
Yes.
most. Some people do
Yeah.
it for $1 because they get the application on in and they get the credit check and they get in within that window where you can get it and cancel the thing within 7 to 10 days.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Garnett, our time is coming to a close today. This has been great. I hope that this has blessed somebody that's been watching, and I hope and pray that you see this as an opportunity for you to get the money that you need. If you're someone who wants to start a business, or if you're somebody who's already started a business and you found that you need some money to actually grow, or you need some money to survive, or whatever the case is, you might need equipment that you need to buy. You might want to do a flip in terms of a home and do some real estate. Whatever the case is, we have programs here that will give you access to over 220 private lenders. Is that what you said?
Yes.
220 private lenders. And guys, I just wanted to bring this gentleman to you today. And as a matter of fact, we're going to be doing every Wednesday at 12 noon. So every Wednesday at 12 noon, if you've got questions, if you know someone who needs funding, tell them to go fill out that link, and then we will contact them and walk them through the process of getting funded so that they can get access to the capital that they need to grow their business. Mr. Garnett, any closing remarks?
Well, starting a business is hard. Money is critical. It's the lifeblood of a business. We are here to try and help you. I mean, if you don't qualify at first, we will work with you to get you qualified. But don't give up hope. I mean, in this country, nothing has been easy for us. It's not going to be easy for us. All we have ever asked for was an opportunity, and we are offering you that opportunity today with the Black Business List. We'll be here every week. Send in your questions. We'll try and answer the best way you can, and we'll try and get you enough money so you can succeed. Maybe we'll talk at the next segment about getting enough money to get yourself in trouble, which is a real big problem for African-American business owners.
Just enough to get yourself in trouble.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm looking forward to that topic. I know that's going to be good. I can tell that's going to be good. So, guys, stay tuned next week, and make sure you invite whoever you need to. You know, people in your life that needs access to this information. Someone who's struggling, and they're trying to make their dreams a reality. They're trying to push hard, and sometimes it really is just the money. It's very difficult to operate a business. There may be restaurants that you go to all the time and you enjoy going there, and you didn't know that the only way the owner made payroll is by getting some type of advance or some type of loan. But when you walk in, it looks just like, like they're doing great. But they just have access to capital so that when they need the funds, they can get the funds to operate and get themselves out of whatever situation. Or if they have a new location that opened up, it's probably because they got access to some funding. And so Black folks, again, are being left out of the conversation at these banks, and we're being left out in terms of just financial literacy. I'm glad to see that there are a lot of people who are on this movement to give us some financial literacy, but quite often it's just having a lack of access. And so Mr. Garnett, through this program that he's brought to us, is giving us the access to the money. So thank you, Mr. Garnett. We really appreciate you. And we're going to see you next week. And if anybody have any questions, make sure you reach out to us. You know how to hit us up on the email at BlackBusinessList.com or on any of our social media platforms. And we go ahead and get you started and get you funded. All right. So thank you, Mr. Garnett. We really appreciate you having here and can't wait to see you next week.
Okay, me too. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.